YouTube. Now I've got my sun dome here. And I'm going to do an imbibition. Got some alchemy going on. And I want to see if I can share this video on some social media real quick. This is something new I'm trying to learn here. If I have the laptop on while the camera is live, there's a way that I can share it from the laptop, because if I share it from the camera, then it interrupts the live feed. I don't know why I'm not seeing any way to share this from my laptop. There we go. I just have to scroll down. Alright. I just want to share this a few times real quick on social media, if this is going to let me do it. Well, they're not letting me share it live on Facebook. Interesting. If I can't share the video, I can't get many watchers, if any. Please bear with me for a moment. I'll try to post it on It looks like it's going to let me share it on Facebook. Okay. Let me try to share it on the Alchemy page. Alchemy symbols. That's almost 30,000 likes on it, so that's going to be a Alright, I'm just posting it here on Alchemy Symbols Facebook page. That may help get some viewers going here. The videos are no good without viewers. My watch hours are really low for some reason. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel so that I can do more alchemy stuff on YouTube. There's no funding, my channel's not monetized. So everything I do is out of pocket. Now, and I do need a new camera. This is a nice specimen of iron pyrite that I bought. These pieces, the large pieces like this, were $5 a piece, which really is not that bad in my opinion. It's a nice specimen. And these are some of the um, smaller type pyrite rocks that I've used throughout most of my alchemy experiments over the years. Most of them have been pyrite rocks about 3/4 of an inch. They range, I think, 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, but they're mostly average about 3/4 of an inch. So this is my sun dome that's been outside. It's basically a solar oven, a solar evaporator. It's been outside for a long time, so it's dirty. And then here I have the extraction vessel that I've shown in some of my previous videos. And the number on top says the number 13. That means this is the 13th extraction that I've done in this jar of iron pyrite. And I have it labeled Sun Dome Alchemy, so I know that it's the one that goes to this. So I've been doing the extractions and imbibitions, spinning the wheel of alchemy in this for many months. It's on extraction number 13. It has been sitting a long time, and I want to open it up. Let's see what we got in there. So the sun dome is kind of dirty. It's been out in the weather. Winter, summer. I took the top off it. Now, maybe we can come a little closer. We'll try to adjust the camera a bit. I don't know why it doesn't want to change its angle. I must not be doing something right. All right. I don't want to break the tripod. What I'm gonna do is zoom in a bit. And we'll see if we can lower this maybe. Alright, I'll just have to tilt the bowl. There we go. Okay. So my Green Lion Sun Dome has been sitting outdoors for quite some time. Now, if I wasn't so busy, I could have worked on this more often and gotten it farther along. But this is interesting because over the years, I've done a lot of alchemy experiments. I've done the experiments in different ways and gotten different results. It's been a learning experience, and that's why I like to record and document these experiments, because years later I might understand something better and want to go back and I want to be able to remember exactly what I did and what I had going. Because I did an alchemy dry path experiment years ago. They had really, really interesting results, and I didn't really fully understand the results at the time. But as the years went by, I realized that I had discovered something very important, and I wanted to go back and recreate the experiment. But since a few years had gone by and that particular experiment wasn't recorded on video, it wasn't really well documented. So there were issues that that I didn't remember, about exactly all of the things I had done leading up to it. So I want to record my experiments better. I've been trying to recreate that dry path experiment, and so far I haven't recreated it, but I think I'm getting much closer to it. I'm getting a better understanding of what happened. So this is a wet path alchemy experiment, and in here the green lion, it looks interesting. It's nice and dry. The colors, the color on the outside is dark. I want to say black, but the color of the material more in the center is the lighter color. There does seem to be some shades of green, but this has gone through color changes of black, white, green, yellow, different color changes. And it's interesting because in my older alchemy experiments, I used an electric hot plate and a big visionware glass pot for my evaporations. And with that setup, the resulting green lion was quite a bit different. It looked completely different than this. And this was just done in a solar oven with the power of the sun. No hot plate underneath. And it's also on a smaller scale. So I've gotten different results. Also, my results seem to vary if I grind the rocks first, or if I don't grind them. If I just put the rocks in, that causes variables too. The whole rocks, or grinding them first, causes changes to occur. So this is what my green lion looks like in the bowl. And I'm gonna do an imbibition. I'm just checking on the laptop. This is the first time I've had the laptop going separately while the camera was rolling. Okay, we have some commentary here. Hello, I didn't see you there. Alchemy Academy. What are we doing today? Okay, so this is my sun dome, and I've got my green lion in here. This is an alchemy work with iron pyrite, where I've been extracting the iron pyrite. I put the rocks in whole this time in the extraction vessel without grinding them, and the results come out different when I do that. It's interesting. So there's the pyrite rocks I'm extracting. This is the 13th turn of the alchemical wheel, because I've got that recorded on top. The 13th extraction for the Sun Dome alchemy. So this is what it looks like. The coagulated green lion that's been sitting in the Sun Dome for some time. And that's 12 imbibitions brought to dryness there. Alright, so now I'm gonna take the top off this. This is gonna be the 13th imbibition in the Sun Dome. This is alright, we have more commentary here. I'm just going to respond a little bit with typed words. Okay, responding. Hello, Sun Dome, 13th turn of the alchemical wheel, iron pyrite, alchemy, green lion. Okay. So that's what we've got in there. This has been outside for a long time in the sun dome, and there are interesting color changes in there. The matter appears to be good and dry. So I'm going to do an imbibition. This has been through 10 or 12 turns of the alchemical wheel. 12 extractions and imbibitions and coagulations of the green lion. So here, I'm going to do the 13th imbibition. I'm going to give it a big drink. Because I don't know when it's going to be before I get back to making another video. I'm sure since we're approaching summertime and the temperature is rising, it won't take too long for the sun dome to coagulate this. Iron pyrite. Look at this specimen here. That's a nice specimen. I like it. I want to do alchemy with it. I just haven't started on this piece yet. I've got about 5 of these larger ones. Most of my alchemy I've done with these smaller pyrite rocks. Okay, so I've done an imbibition. Let's see what it looks like. That's my laptop in the background. So that's what it looks like, and it's interesting because it looks like it's going from a black stage to a white stage. What do you think? What colors do you see? Is that a bit of redness in there? The color changes. White, red, black. Nice. So that's my green lion, and that just took its 13th imbibition. Interesting. So there's a bit more work that I want to do. I want to pour another batch of menstruum into my extraction vessel. I want to continue extracting. In all my time of researching the old alchemical documents, which has been some time ago, I came up with things like Mercury of 7 eagles, Mercury of 10 eagles, philosophically speaking in their manuscripts, of course, indicating the number of turns of the alchemical wheel, and in the writings of Paracelsus, he suggested extract until the vinegar is no longer colored, and then do 2 more extractions before continuing to the next phase. But this is my 13th extraction. I want to make sure that I've extracted everything as good as I can. I don't think I can be too thorough in my extraction. And it might answer some more questions. Because some of the old alchemical manuscripts, they say things like the whole matter is changed. That's been a discussion in the writings of Michael Sendivogius. Like, some take part of the matter for their substance, and some people say let's see, what was it? The writings of Pontanus, when he was talking about Artephius' secret book. He said the whole matter was changed by the action of the secret fire alone. Therefore, seek out this water, he said, and if it wasn't for the secret book of Artephius, he never would have found it. So, that's something that I want to see. That's a question that I want to answer. Where next? You mean the next phase? If you look in the writings of Theophrastus Paracelsus, he's got a recipe. I read it many years ago, and I really, the way it was worded, I really didn't understand it perfectly, but I understand it better and better all the time. But he was talking about extracting. Of course, he named a different mineral, but I don't think he named whether he named the right mineral was, you know how alchemical manuscripts are. But he was saying that he applied his vinegar and stirred it every day several times with a wooden stick, and he extracted. He colored the vinegar yellow. Oh, the homunculus. Book of the Cow. I'm not sure with. I don't think I. De Natura Rerum. I don't think I'm familiar with that one, or Book of the Cow. But I am familiar with the homunculus. Matter of fact, I watched a video earlier that explains Paracelsus' recipe for the homunculus, which was interesting. And it said that Paracelsus actually destroyed his homunculus because he felt it didn't have a soul. He felt it wasn't created by God, that it was created by him. And so his homunculus, he felt, did not have a soul. So even though it was a small person, he destroyed it. So anyway, back to the Paracelsus formula, the recipe that I read about years ago. He was suggesting using vinegar and a metallic mineral ore, which he named a different ore that I don't know if he was trying to disguise the ore, but he was saying that the vinegar becomes colored yellow. You keep doing the extractions until the vinegar is no more colored and it's just clear, and then do 2 more extractions after that. And then he was saying use the calcination, proceed to roast the material in the extraction vessel in a reverberatory furnace, which is like an oven, and then go back to the extractions all over again and repeat the same formula, that the vinegar would be colored, and the extractions would continue until the last 2 were clear. A golem. I have heard the term golem. I never looked it up. Animal. Homunculus is in the animal realm of alchemy. Yes, created life. It's really nothing new. The alchemists were doing it. And alchemy went on in the pyramids. So, and they were doing this stuff back then. They were creating different life forms. Somebody told me at one time that the cat was created in the pyramids by the Egyptian alchemists. Vax, Golem Factory. Interesting. That's interesting. Are you saying is the homunculus a golem? Homunculus is in the animal realm. This is alchemy with iron pyrite. This is in the mineral realm. So maybe a good way to describe this would be, some other people have called it pyrite stone. They said, "Oh, you're making the pyrite stone." Well, I am working on making a stone, and I am working upon iron pyrite. So that could be a good name for it. So I'm going to put some more menstruum in the extraction vessel. Even though it came away clear, I have patience and I want to see what happens if I continue the extractions. I want to see if it'll break down the iron pyrite more, if it'll dissolve everything. No, the noise in the background is my laptop. I'm trying to watch the commentary since I'm live streaming my phone, which is on the tripod. Um, and apparently the video, the live chat on the laptop is not in the same time sync as what's on the phone. There's like a delay. I could actually turn the volume down on the laptop. That will fix it, won't it? Okay, that fixed that. The only other thing in the background is my air conditioner. We're getting into higher temperatures here in California. Okay. So I'm going to extract this again with fresh menstruum. Now this is weak store-bought vinegar. Let me see what the if it says the percentage of acetic acid. Ingredients: distilled vinegar from corn diluted with water to 5% acidity. So this is 5% acetic acid. That's why you get it slow, but it does a good job. I'm going to put that in there. And in mine, I'm going to add a little bit of hydrogen peroxide. Do not do this at home. This makes parasitic acid, and that's something that needs to be researched because I think there are some precautionary things about parasitic acid that I haven't read in a while. But I can tell you that I store it with a light plastic covering set on the top to keep the dust out, but it doesn't allow any expanding gases to collect in the jar because that would break the glass. I've seen it happen before. So I don't want my glasses to bust. And I don't measure the amounts, I just eyeball them. It's always been that way. Over the years, people have asked me questions, how much ingredients? And I'm like, I just eyeball it, I don't, So, since we're on the subject of parasitic acid, and I've got the laptop here, we might as well do a refresher here. It's been a while since I looked it up. There we go. Peroxyacetic acid, also known as parasitic acid or PAA, is an organic peroxide-based colorless liquid with a low pH and a strong, pungent vinegar-like odor. In the concentrated form, it is highly corrosive and unstable. PAA is formed from the reaction of acetic acid and hydrogen peroxide. Okay, so since I made it with store-bought vinegar, that means my formula is going to be much weaker, which is good. Let's see here. There's a lot more information down here about parasitic acid. What is parasitic acid used for? Parasitic acid removes surface contaminants, primarily protein, on endoscopic tubing. An automated machine using parasitic acid to sterilize medical, surgical, and dental instruments chemically, e.g., endoscopes, arthroscopes, was introduced in 1988. Is peracetic acid harmful? Peroxyacetic acid is a highly corrosive chemical, and contact can severely irritate and burn the skin and eyes, leading to eye damage. Breathing peroxyacetic acid can irritate the nose and throat. Breathing peroxyacetic acid can irritate the lungs, causing coughing and/or shortness of breath. And I believe I was just coughing a moment ago. Perhaps, I usually make these videos outside. I wanted to do this one inside. Is peracetic acid the same as vinegar? Peracetic acid, PAA, is produced by combining acetic acid, vinegar, and hydrogen peroxide. The result is a peroxide version of acetic acid vinegar that has a very distinctive and a pungent vinegary smell. As a cleaner, peracetic performs poorly as it lacks detergency properties. In my opinion, it's not the same as vinegar. How could it be? It's two different things mixed together to create something else. It's no longer peroxide, hydrogen peroxide, or vinegar, it's peracetic acid. What happens when you mix hydrogen peroxide and vinegar? Hydrogen oxide separately, a great cleaning agent and antiseptic, if mixed with vinegar, creates peracetic acid, as vinegar contains acetic acid. This combination of vinegar and hydrogen peroxide is potentially toxic and corrosive, which can break down or damage the surface it is applied to. Something interesting about peracetic acid is I noticed somebody was talking about it in a forum online a long time ago. It was a gunsmithing forum, and they were talking about cleaning their guns, and one of the guys in the forum was saying that he was mixing vinegar and hydrogen peroxide to do his gun cleaning. He made his own solvent, and he said that it would dissolve lead in his ashtray, that the peracetic acid that he made at home would dissolve lead. And I found that to be interesting because alchemy is all about solve et coagula, dissolve and coagulate. So I found that to be interesting. Here's a question. It says, can I mix hydrogen peroxide and apple cider vinegar? Now these are just search results that I'm looking up online. It says combining them creates peracetic acid, which is potentially toxic and can irritate the skin, eyes, and respiratory system. I mixed it with white vinegar. There's another question. What does salt and peroxide make? The mixture of sodium hydroxide and hydrogen peroxide produces a strong oxidizer called sodium peroxide and can result in an exothermic mist from the onset of high temperatures and heat from the decomposition of incompatible mixtures, causing a severe thermal hazard. Well, that doesn't sound good. A thermal hazard? Alright, well there's that. I'm just looking over the commentary that's going on. There are more than one path to his white powder. My response to that is there is more than one work in alchemy. I'm going to type that in. Now, I remember reading in the writings, and I want to say it was Paracelsus, who indicated that there were a lot of different alchemists, and they each had their own ways and methods of working, but that they all led to the same end or the same outcome. And to me, that suggests that let's say if we had a few different alchemists that were doing the same work, but one of them grinded the rocks first and the other one didn't, that's a subtle difference that does affect the outcome of the work. I can't say that it would prevent the continuing of the work, but it would just create subtle changes, like differences in colors or, textures. Um, and that's how I understand that. But it's also, I would think it's important to remember that um, there's three realms in alchemy: animal, mineral, and kingdom. So in each of those, there is more than one work. There's many works in alchemy. Dry vinegar burns. Dry vinegar is an interesting subject, in my opinion. I would think that would mean acetic acid crystals. And that's kind of been on my mind about possibly researching that. Acetic acid crystals. I believe that would be dry vinegar. That would probably be a very interesting substance in alchemy because vinegar is big in alchemy. It's big. I knew a lady that was a psychic, and I'm gonna tell you what she blurted out to me. She just blurted this out to me out of the blue many years ago, and I didn't even ask her any questions. I just told her, I was into alchemy, interested in alchemy, and she just blurted out. She said, "Isn't vinegar the key? The key, the secret key." And vinegar, these things are big in alchemy. If you look through alchemical symbolism, you might see symbols of a key. What alchemy is? I met somebody a long time ago out of the blue, and I just asked them if they knew anything about alchemy, and they said yes, and they gave me this big old speech. And I wish I could remember it word for word what they said because it was really interesting, but basically they were saying it was about the purification and exaltation of matter, which I believe that's what it is. I would say that's what it is. Okay, so I've got my menstruum in here. And here's another thing. Remember, do not try this at home. And this is not for consumption. But you've noticed when I poured the menstruum in, I poured the vinegar first. Sometimes in the past, I poured the vinegar second. And it changes the results and the outcome. The reaction is different. Subtle changes in the work create noticeable differences, but the work still progresses. We can get a look at that and see how it looks. There's like a film floating. Yeah, my catchphrase, not for consumption. Do not eat the alchemy, do not sniff the alchemy, do not get the alchemy in eyes, etc. Do not try this at home. So there's kind of like a film of something floating on the water, and a lot of the old alchemical manuscripts talk about stuff like that. Like under the eyes of fishes, there's that bubble there, and then about like an oily film floating on the surface, which is sometimes referred to as the peacock's tail, which can reflect a myriad of colors when the light hits it in a certain way. Putrefaction. that word comes to mind with what's been going on with this experiment, how it's been sitting out there in the sun dome for a long time, and the colors that have gone through. It just reminds me of the word putrefaction. All right, so I'm going to put a cover on that extraction vessel, and I'm going to grab a marker to mark it with. All right, I've got a selection of markers, just in case one of them doesn't work. I'm sure they all do. I might as well put a new plastic covering over the top. So I'm going to put the plastic covering lightly over the top so that if there's any expanding gases, they will not crack the glass. I have a lot of videos on YouTube right now. At one point, I was told that YouTube had new rules and that I should edit my videos, and I was like, that's a lot of work. I had so many videos, and I went and just started deleting them. And these are old videos that had been on there from way back. And then people were like, oh, wait a minute, where's your old videos? And I was like, oh, I guess I should have backed them up or saved them somehow. But so a lot of my old Alchemy videos are gone. And since then I've made new ones. But even so, I did find some of the old ones on a memory stick that I uploaded a while back. But even so, I'm already up to like 375 videos on YouTube again. I've got plenty of videos. I'm going to mark this 14. This is the 14th extraction. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to make sure that the plastic is not perfectly sealed. Hermetically sealed is another thing that has come up. A lot of people have told me, oh, hermetically sealed means a perfect seal. I don't think so. My understanding of a hermetically sealed means that it can breathe a little bit, keep the dust and bugs out, but that it can breathe a little bit. That's just my understanding of it. Alright, so we went over hermetically sealed. Exaltation and transmutation. Transmutation does come up a lot in old alchemy manuscripts, doesn't it? In some videos on YouTube, people will say, wow, of course the alchemists never realized their goal. But they weren't there, they're assuming that. They want us to think that. The only way to really know for sure is to do the experiments and follow it all the way to the end, which isn't easy because all this stuff that I've done with alchemy, I've had to figure it out. There's nobody standing there saying, hey, I'll show you how to do it. I've had to figure out all this stuff, and it's taken a lot of patience and a lot of time. It's not easy stuff to figure out. If we were going to turn lead into gold, that's probably not an easy thing to figure out. It's kind of advanced, I would think. Um, so I think it's going to be interesting to discover what happens at the end. What happens at the end? Because I have a lot of patience. I started studying alchemy and experimenting with it in 2008, and here it is 2022, and I'm still working on alchemy. I'm not a quitter. I don't give up. I intend to see this to the end and see the results. Because opinions vary. One person will say, well, alchemists were frauds, but you know what? I don't think they were. I don't believe, right? Right, and oxygen is something that helps drive the equation. It's like a catalyst. Certain reactions won't occur without oxygen. But I'm going to tell you something. I was looking into multiplication of gold because I've got a really old book. I think it was from the 1700s. I've posted videos of it on YouTube, and it talks about dissolving gold and making gold crystals, and it talks about multiplication of gold because something that's come up in alchemy is that supposedly some King Henry or somebody outlawed the multiplication of gold in like the 1400s, and people assumed, okay, so he made a law against alchemy. It must be the alchemists were frauds. Well, multiplication of gold is not the same as alchemy. Alchemy, we're trying to make a stone that we can cast on metal, and we're going to try to transmute that metal. That is the hypothesis, the goal that I'm trying to investigate with my experiments. But the multiplication of gold was different because what the multiplication of gold was doing is, when gold was used for coinage, for money, people were melting their gold with other metal. They were melting copper with their gold to increase the size of their gold. That has nothing to do with alchemy. Multiplication of gold, it started out with people would take their gold money, melt it with copper to increase the amount of their gold, increase the amount of their money, and that is actually a form of counterfeiting. It's forgery. It's counterfeiting money. It's what it is. And then when that was discovered and tests were developed to find out if people had added copper to their gold, they started using other metals instead that were harder to detect. But that was the multiplication of gold, was increasing the size of gold by amalgamating it with something else and using it as money, which was forgery. That actually has nothing to do with alchemy, but people assumed that it did, and so they gave alchemy a bad name. But multiplication of gold is not the same as alchemy, where we try to exalt and purify, separate the elements, resurrect the matter in its new purified form, try to create a stone that is better than it was, more exalted, and it's a study of nature. Nature is making something in the ground. This is what it is at the stage that it was plucked out of the ground. But in my opinion, it wasn't done yet. Nature was making something in the ground, and this was plucked out of the ground. When this was taken out of the ground, it stopped evolving, it stopped growing because it was removed from its environment of minerals and the water and oxygen that was present in the equation of solve et coagula. This, in my opinion, represents probably thousands of years of solve et coagula, water in the Earth's crust and soluble minerals dissolving and coagulating, forming this material. It can form in heat, and it can form in water, is my understanding of it. So this material, it was in phase transition. Nature wasn't done with it when it was plucked out of the ground. Nature was making something and it wasn't finished. This is just the unfinished form. The alchemist does not claim to make gold. The alchemist claims to study nature and to assist nature and to only set the proper conditions so that nature can finish what it was already doing. That's it. Nature makes gold. The alchemist assists nature with the idea of speeding the process. Speeding the process. I think I'm going to actually perhaps store this extraction vessel outside because I can smell the fumes from it. And it's, I mean, if I can smell it, then it probably doesn't need to be in here. So I'm going to start putting the sun dome together and start moving this stuff outside. I've got it marked 14. If you dig through my videos on YouTube, I have, this is the 14th extraction, so I've got several videos on this experiment. Alright, I'm going to put the top back on the sun dome. And then I'm going to move it back outside. We can actually bring the camera along and follow and see what I've got out here. What I've got going on. So that's just a wooden electrical spool that I use as a table, a work table. I got the sun dome there. And then I've got some shelves out front. There's my extraction jar, and this is another experiment that I was working on some time ago. Just investigations into crystal growing, trying to get a better idea of alchemical gemstones, because alchemists were supposed to have made gemstones, and I find that interesting. And I discovered a bit of information that I think applies to that. So I'm going to say it in this video so that it's recorded. That way, if I forget, I can relearn it from the video. But I went to a rock shop to get iron pyrite and talked to the people in there about minerals. They were very knowledgeable about minerals and geology and gold mining. And one of the people that was in the store made a comment. He said, what's this rock over here? And they said it's goldstone. And they said it was man-made. They said somebody melted glass with copper metal together in a crucible, and it made an interesting looking stone. So I'm going to look into the melting of crystals and the melting of them with metals and see what I get from that. I think that's going to be interesting. I can research the melting points, melting temperatures of crystals online, and get some information about temperatures and possible reactions from melting them. Some of them might not do well in heat. Some of the crystals might crack or explode. I'm not sure, but I can dig that on the internet. So melting crystals with metals, I think that's going to be interesting. That's the wind chime that I painted for my dog Belle. It had Dalmatians, and I got some oil paint and painted them into Rottweilers. Belle and her puppies. Belle was with me for a long time. And I've got some gardening going on. This is my bonsai orange tree. I want to say that this tree, I'm just guessing, I think it's 6 years old. And I'm going to tell you why, because This isn't grown from seed. It's a clipping from a pre-existing tree that was God knows how old, that was rooted. So somebody took this clipping off a tree and rooted it, and then it was in the nursery growing and until it was purchased by a store, and then it was shipped to the distribution center and ended up at that store where it sat there for some time until I came along and bought it. And I've had it, I would say I must have had it for a year. I've had it for a long time. So just by that information and the thickness of the trunk, I would just guess it's probably 6 years old. So that's a bonsai orange tree, mandarin orange tree. And then this is a lemon tree that I was trying to bonsai, still am, but it's not as suitable as the other one because it's kind of tall. And then this is a Thompson seedless grapevine, and I took cuttings off it that I'm trying to root over here, and this one's not looking too good, but I'm not giving up. It's hard to kill a grape in my opinion. So I took cuttings off the grapevine and stuck them over here in the dirt, and this one seems to be doing better. If you look at the difference in the leaves, they were clipped at the same time and planted. This one made a much more valiant effort. That leaf still has some life in it. And then I've got a selection of aloe vera plants, which are good to have around because I've had burns before and skin graft. And I actually did something stupid and got a sunburn on my skin graft. And I was cutting the leaves from the aloe vera and putting the juice on the sunburn on the skin graft over my old 3rd degree burn. So that stuff's good to have around. I'll show you that's my 3rd degree burn, or I had skin grafts and I got sunburn on it. And was putting the aloe vera on it. There was extensive damage in the leg there, in the nerves and the blood vessels and everything are really trashed. And the doctors were going to cut my leg off, but I said, no, you can't, you don't have my permission. So they said, well, we'll try to save it, but if there's any gangrene appears, we'll have to cut it off. So I was in the hospital a long time, but they managed to save the leg. It does have some issues, but should have served me well for many years now since that accident happened. So it looks like I probably need to clean the sun dome. You can see it's been out in the weather for months. It's been out in the winter, the summer, the rain, it's the snow. It's actually snowed out here on this thing. It's been daytime, nighttime out here, in cold weather, hot weather. That bonsai orange tree is thick in the trunk, look how thick that is. I think that bonsai tree is coming out nice. It's good size, good shape. And one thing I realized, whenever I prune them, they don't put out fruit. So I've got to adjust my pruning. I've got to let it fruit and then prune after the harvest. Because I prune whenever I feel like it, but I need to wait, let it fruit, and prune after the harvest. I did spray it with neem oil because there was some insects starting to bite little holes in the leaves. The neem oil helped. I gave it some iron and some plant food as well. I think I need to get something more like a citrus plant food though. Maybe something like some calcium and magnesium. I'll get some more supplements for it. The grapevine, it started to put out fruit. It had little clusters of grapes, and then I pruned it a little bit, and now the clusters of grapes seem to be gone. Pruning, I'm gonna have to prune after the harvest. And check out this camera I got. This thing's really cool. That's my front porch light. It's got two lights and a camera. It's got a motion sensor. It's got a siren. It's got a two-way speaker. It records everything. I turned the sensitivity up. If a fly buzzes by the front of the house, this thing turns on and starts recording. If the wind chime blows, if it moves around, if the wind kicks up and blows that thing a little bit, it'll activate the camera and it'll start recording. That's a really good camera. I like it. I got it at Target, and it was about $179 plus tax. That is a really good home security camera. It's a Ring floodlight camera. I did have to pay a monthly subscription to store the videos on the cloud so I can download them. But I bought it at a whole year. I bought a block of 10 or 12 months of the subscription, so it was only $30 for a whole year of the subscription. That's a hell of a good camera. And there's my sun dome. So the results come out different. With this being made in the sun dome, I get different results than the old school method where I used to do my evaporations on the hot plate in the visionware glass bowl, which would produce very healthy looking green lion specimens. This one, the material, it comes out looking quite different. Just a subtle change in the way the work is done causes a difference in the results. I think I'm going to throw some water on those plants over there real quick. The temperature is getting warm today. It feels kind of like an oven out here. Alright, got some water on those. I got 4 wind chimes now. A lot of people think they associated with spirits, you know, people that have passed on, loved ones that are not here anymore. So that one is for my dog Belle and her puppies. And then these other ones, kind of for mom and grandpa and grandma. They make some interesting sounds when the wind kicks up. You know, I bought some moringa seeds. Moringa is supposed to be a superfood. I ordered seeds and bought them and planted them, and they never grew. They never ever grew. Apparently I got dead seeds. Dead seeds. That's why I started collecting seeds directly from fruit. I had some red globe grapes that I bought at a store, and they are seeded. They have seeds in them. So I kept the seeds out of those grapes, and I want to plant them maybe this summer. So that's probably about it. I think it's about the end of the video. I think I've covered everything. And we'll wrap this up, and then eventually we'll post another video. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.